300 million people around the world are using artificial intelligence every single week. That's the entire population of the United States. It's in our lives right now. Every time you unlock your phone with your face, that's AI. Every time Google knows what we're about to type, that's AI. Every time Netflix recommends what you're going to watch, that's AI. And it's already in our hospitals as well, detecting cancers earlier than any human eye can, helping develop life-saving drugs in a fraction of the time that it's ever taken, assisting surgeons with greater precision than ever before. The global AI industry is worth over $600 billion today, and is projected to reach $1.8 trillion by 2030. Here's a number that really put it into perspective for me. The internet took 7 years to reach 100 million users. Smartphones took 3. ChatGPT, the AI tool you may have heard of, reached 100 million users in just 2 months. Amazing. So what does all of that mean for you and for me? And that's exactly what we're here today to talk about.
So those are some pretty, very, very high level, up in the sky things that we can't comprehend when we talk about billions of dollars. You know, I can't comprehend $1 trillion or that sort of thing. So what I thought I'd do is bring it down to earth and talk a little bit about it in terms of our daily lives and what it can do and how it can benefit us. And I was thinking about it from your perspective as well, in terms of training some people. How could you use it for that? And what would it mean doing that as well? Now, I thought about what some of the questions that you might ask me today, or some of the questions that I should answer within this presentation that would make it real for you. And I want each of you to have a look at them just now. And I'm certainly going to answer all those questions, but have a little think as we go through. What are some things, is there anything that are stirring you where you go, actually tell me a little bit about that, how could that help me? So have a little think about it as we go and ask me some questions that you think, but I'm going to answer those questions just now about AI, etc. In terms of what AI is in plain English, that's a very hard thing because so many people talk about it in different ways. And it makes it sound, artificial intelligence makes it sound very mysterious, and it's not mysterious. It's basically software that's been trained to recognize patterns and make predictions around that. It's fed a lot of data, more data than you and I could ever think about. Zettabytes, you know, stuff that, you know, certainly I know it's a word, and I know it is something, but it's been fed so much data. So you think about it like an experienced family doctor. After 30 years of practice, you walk in and you talk to a doctor. He turns around and says, I think it's this, and you talk about it. How does he know that? He knows that because he's seen it before. That's what AI fundamentally is. It's fed all this data, good and bad, and this is good, this is bad, etc., and it understands what that is, and it's able to predict outcomes based on that. That's in its very, very simplest form. That's what artificial intelligence basically is. So if you've got a chest x-ray labelled healthy or pneumonia, it starts to spot the difference the same way that your doctor does. Researchers have fed all that data through these algorithms and these large language modules. That's fundamentally what it is. And it's not just in one topic of life, it's not just in health, it's in everything. It's in legal, it's in health, it's in everything today. And a lot of us don't know about it, but it is, it's out there today and being used by these companies. I guess the question is, how can it be used for us, for better? And I'll take you through a little bit something later on. I came here last week and I sat down with a couple of people talking about, they were talking about what the problems were and what the challenges were. And I'm sitting there listening to them going, okay. And then they sort of knew something they wanted to ask me. But then they sort of said, okay, and it was a bit like, okay, monkey, dance, show me what you can do. Show me what this can do. And I never thought about that. I thought they were going to come in with a problem. So I sort of thought there, now of course I river danced a little bit, I call it. I started to talk them through, well, have you thought about this, have you thought about that? And then I was thinking to myself, okay, well that's maybe something that we should be thinking about. Now maybe we have, I obviously wasn't introduced to it, but I started to think about what are all the components of an iPhone? What are all the components of a Mac? These people had iPhone, Macs, iWatches, iPhones. So I've created something. Now I'll show it to you a bit later on, but I want to spend more and more time showing you some of the things you can do with AI that's going to benefit you in your daily life, but also benefit you in terms of your professional life as well. In terms of AI as the next generation, I've lived through a few. So the Industrial Revolution, I know it was early, etc., but I started working in a place called Paisley. We used to make the thread mills, and that was all about machinery, etc. All this machinery and what it allowed us to do. It allowed us to, travel, and it's all about productivity. All this stuff allows productivity. To use machines, we all used to be on the land. 90% of what we did was in the land, and now it's 2%. And we all working. We've got all this machinery working for us. What the internet did is it collapsed distance. So somebody sitting at home anywhere in the world could sit down and get access to all this information and do this wonderful stuff. So the internet was the next sort of evolution in terms of productivity and allow us to become better at what we do, to become faster at what we do, and enable productivity. AI is the next thing that's sitting there just now that takes some of that cognitive grunt work that we're doing and replace it. And there's good and bad around that as well, depending on what you read about AI. Actually, the guy that came last week, the older bloke, Ian, that sat down, I asked him if he knew a bit about AI, and he said, that's arrogant interference. And I laughed a little bit, but I was laughing, I thought, that's excellent. But it's one way of looking at it, and a lot of people will look at it that way and go, bah humbug. But the smart people, certainly in business, maybe not us, I'm not saying we're not smart, but we've been through life and done whatever, but your son, your daughter, your granddaughter, they're going to grow up with this technology whether you like it or not. And I think it'd be a little bit good if we knew a little bit about it as well and were able to talk to them about it. So even if you look at it from that perspective, it's pretty cool. So I said that AI replaces some grunt work. You can think of a GP in a remote town can now get a second opinion in a chest x-ray from an AI trained in millions of scans. A small business owner who couldn't afford a lawyer, couldn't afford an accountant, couldn't afford a marketing team. I'm thinking of setting up a little business, and I sat yesterday and I searched for designs, for names for this. Has there anybody got stuff registered for that in ABNs? Is it out there on Facebook? In under 10 minutes, I had a design for my company, a company name. It gone in and looked at all these and asked all these questions of ABN and how to register, and it came back and it said, what do you think of this? And I had to agree with it. And it built me a website. Now, I haven't published it, but it built me a website. I'm not, I've grown up with IT, I'm not a technical person. I was a sales director most of my life and worked in sales and marketing, etc. So I'm not smart with all this stuff. I'm not coming to you saying that I can sit and code and do whatever, but I could develop that in such a short period of time. That's amazing to me that I can sit down and pull something like that together. So who's building AI and why does it actually matter? You're going to recognise all the companies up there, I'm sure that you do. But I tend to look at that and I like to understand a little bit more of the background. I want to know the people that are building AI, what they like, because if you do a search in AI, and I encourage you to do a search on the web, it talks about a future that's positive and a future that's potentially negative. Because the big thing that all these companies are trying to do is what's called AGI, artificial general intelligence. And what they want to become is smarter than all of everybody on Earth from a male, female, whatever perspective. That's what they're trying to do. And whoever can do that is going to be, fantastic, etc. Now, that's quite scary on one hand to me, But on the other hand, I think, well, there's probably some things that we can get from that that are good. So I was doing a bit of research into some people who developed AI. A guy called Demis Hassabis. Don't know how that came out there with my Scottish accent, but he co-founded a company called DeepMind in London in 2010. This guy was a child chess prodigy who finished his A-levels in 2 years. He coded a multi-million-dollar simulation game, which he basically sold for $650 million to Google. He's the guy that's behind all this, developing, it was called DeepMind, but now it's part of Google Gemini, etc. And he heads up Gemini and what they basically do there. This is the type of guy in the background. The biggest thing he did is he created something called AlphaFold, which was a large language model, and it solved a problem that was stumped science for 50 years. How do proteins fold into their 3D shape? Why does that matter? Proteins are basically the building blocks of everything within our body and what our body does. Scientists couldn't figure it out. They just didn't know how it came together. AlphaFold solved that problem instantly using AI, massively speeds up the discovery of new drugs and treatments for diseases like cancer and Alzheimer's. Blows your mind. This guy developed this. Now, yeah, that just shows you the caliber of people that are sitting in the background here. And some of these people that are developing this are getting paid $750,000, a year to sit down and sort of pull this thing together. So there are some people with big minds. But the thing that I wanted to emphasize is people like Demis in this in the background, who's a smart guy, but he looks to the betterment. He looks at like AI is like a tool that helps us into better society and to better health and to better all the outcomes. That makes me feel good. Because when you read about some of these guys, like Sam Altman that heads up ChatGPT, you start to get some question marks around him as a person. Because they moved from a non-profit into being a profit company. And it's about, they've now got $1 trillion valuations, these companies, in such a short period of time. I know I'm throwing a lot of things at you, but I'm trying to give you the scale. Of course, there's other companies that are not up there, like Perplexity and a few others, even Chinese companies. The Chinese are doing a lot of what these American companies are doing, but not at the cost that American companies are doing. They've gone down these large language models which need huge data centers, whereas in China they're using smaller language models, so they're delivering it at a lower cost. Interesting business model.
So does that mean they're less accurate if they're using smaller models?
I don't know the answer to that, but what I'd say to you is AI has got the capacity to what's called hallucinate. And we can look at that and say, what does that basically mean, etc. But I haven't seen it in the questions that I put out there. I look at it and go, that looks right to me. So is that? I would say yes and no. That's a good answer to your question.
Thank you.
Because I was listening to somebody last night that was sitting and saying there's a lot of accuracy in smaller models. Something for this particular piece of thing that I'm trying to do, and a smaller language model can do 80-90% of what these big ones can at the cost. I guess that what I'm saying there says that it's slightly less accurate. Yeah. So who's AI affecting? And I basically answered that question a little bit earlier on, you and your family. How many of you get children and grandchildren? How many of you guys will get children, grandchildren, etc.? All of you? Yeah. AI is already in their lives at school in some sort of fashion, and definitely at their work, I can assure you. And if it's not, it will be. I think AI, you understanding it, allows you to have a richer conversation with them if you converse at that sort of level. Maybe ask them, what are you seeing? What's happening for you in school just now? Have you heard about it? Have you seen it? I was thinking about it in terms of our wealth as well. I retired, and I certainly didn't have everything I wanted at that point in time. I actually retired, I was made redundant, and I'd been working for 12 months in the company around a transformation it was trying to do, and I was what was called a high potential within the company. So I was flying around the world advising a little bit on AI and some things that they should basically do with 5 other people. Came up with a bunch of recommendations which we presented to the leadership team. This is a $5 billion company called Autodesk that does design software. Finished that probably in the October. The January I was pulled into a room with a whole bunch of other people and you'd be made redundant. And it was because ultimately a business transformation, but it was because of AI as well. And if you look at the TV and look at some of the news, you will see Microsoft, Amazon are laying off another 10,000 people. It's happening all the time, and AI has been used as the excuse. It's just good to be up to what's happening, but have a conversation with your children as well. But I wanted to say it affects everyone. And from a money perspective, I'm sure that my money's been invested in some of these companies as well. And that's a good thing and a bad thing depending on what happens. So just saying it's all around us, but it's economically as well. This is an interesting one because I did a bit of research about AI in education. And it's saying and this is an Australian example, it's not, I didn't go in America or whatever, I thought, what's happening in Australia with AI at this point in time? 80% of Australian secondary schools are actually using it. Lower secondary teachers are using it, with teachers basically leading the charge, so that the teachers are leading the charge more than the children. But 2/3 of the lower secondary teachers are using it, mainly for themselves to brainstorm lesson plans and prepare material for their children, etc. And it can save teachers up to 5 hours per week on things they did in the past. And I can tell you, with what I pulled together and was able to do, recently pulling this together, I could have saved myself so much time in my job. In fact, I could have got AI to do I could do my job in 3 days compared to 5 days. Now, I wasn't somebody that was paid a salary, so much per hour. I was paid a base salary plus commission. So what do you do in my situation? It allows me to go out there and meet more people and make more money. So that's the sort of benefits there. But what's been struggling with is, are the students using AI to do all the answers and not learning? Or what are they doing? And the answer would definitely be yes, some of them are basically doing that, absolutely. Don't know how many, and I don't know the percentages. So is AI making them lazy, dumber? And the answer would probably be yes to some of it, but the schools that are getting it right are looking at AI like a calculator. You still need to understand maths, but to do the computation, the grunt work, you use your calculator. Some of them are going, we're not using it at all. What do you think about that? That's a recipe for disaster. It doesn't work. It goes underneath the desk. You've got to find a way to work with it. So ask your grandchildren how they use an AI. Ask the question, see what they say. Medicine, I've mentioned medicine a few times. AI is already detecting some cancers out there, no doubt about it. As accurately as radiologists, if not better. AI assists doctors, it doesn't basically replace them. It helps with the process more to see more and to get more accurate information to yourself. Actually, just quickly, I'll show you something. Hopefully I'll show you something. I use Claude, so we're going to use Claude. This is a chat that I'm going to set up just now with Claude. Well, I'm back at it, Brian. So let me just pick something out of file. This is somebody that I know.
Has everyone heard of Claude? That's a chatbot that we can all use. That's just something I use all the time in order to generate really quickly answers to a prompt. So in other words, if I wanted to ask Claude to do a spreadsheet for me, and I'd give them the prompt of what I wanted the headings for the spreadsheet, and I'd give them the detail where the resources that they should look for on the internet, and put it into a spreadsheet form, it would do it in a matter of a second, and I'm not exaggerating. I can show you examples of what I've done in the past.
Is it free?
And it's free. And that's the other great thing about it. You don't have to pay for Claude.
Yeah, I pay for it, so I use it because I use more of it, but it is free.
It's free.
It is free. ChatGPT's got a free model, Claude's got a model. Has anybody ever got anything like that? That's blood work, so that's somebody that I know and love very much. And that's a whole bunch of blood work that's talking there about sodium, potassium, a whole bunch of stuff in there with a whole bunch of measurements, and yes, there's some red in there, etc. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say to Claude, please tell me what this means in simple language. And I'll just send that up into the cloud just now and see what it comes back with.
So who is behind Claude?
Claude's a company called Anthropic. Anthropic, who on the secondary market are now worth $1 trillion out there. Interesting story. I'm into interesting stories rather than reading what's up there. So there's a guy, so we all know, I'm not going to ask your opinion, I'm not going to state mine on Trump and what's happening in the US. But they've just got into, who was it they went into and they took over the president or something? It wasn't Venezuela. Anyhow, they just went in there and replaced the president that took them out, etc.
Iran it was.
No, yeah, but before Iran there was another one.
Venezuela.
So the Department of War, that they call the Department
Yes.
of War, was using AI software to decide where to put bombs out and to do whatever. And they use Anthropic, they use Claude. And Claude said to them, you can use my software, but there's two scenarios where I'm not happy and I want to work with you and I want to work with the government. And I'm not saying no, but I'm saying that I want to work together on this. And you can imagine what Trump did and Hegseth and all the rest of it. They went loopy and they turned around and said, actually the two scenarios, just so you know, mass surveillance of your own people was one. The second one was, this scares the shit out of me, sorry for the words.
I know what you're saying.
This scares the monkeys out of me. The second one was that the software decided who it was going to target and sent the bomb without going to somebody to say, what do you think of this? Now Anthropic said no. Hegseth called Anthropic something that is like a Chinese company, like a Huawei in America. They've called all of them. They've said because of privacy, because of whatever, we're not happy. They called Anthropic this name, which means that from a legal perspective, they were saying that no other part of the Department of War could use them, and they were trying to say nobody in government could use them at all. And it's in court at this point in time. ChatGPT, Sam Altman said, no, you can use the software that way. So the only reason I said that to you was to give you a view of some of the wider things that are happening out there, but to also, so the reason why I was thinking about Anthropic and thinking, what are they like culturally? Because these people are deciding the economic future of us as a civilization. These people are deciding some of that stuff, this technology. Now, I've probably taken it a little bit more than what you're asking me to, but I just want to give you a view of some of the stuff that's happening with. But so it's Anthropic, and I like them, which is why I'm using them.
Is it Microsoft that's behind it?
No, Microsoft has put hundreds of millions of dollars into ChatGPT, and they're not behind Anthropic. So they put all this money behind ChatGPT. So you've got a traditional company like Microsoft that's sitting there looking, going, "Wow, we don't have these people just now." Okay, so they're putting hundreds of millions of dollars into this just now, because AI needs technology. It needs massive data centers with massive amounts of compute. And if you want to look at companies like Nvidia out there that make the actual compute, look at the valuation of the company. Look at its growth, and they can't produce the chips fast enough. So here's what Claude came up with when I put this in there. A few things to know up front. I'm not a doctor, so this isn't medical advice. Just a plain English translation. Also, this report is for a female patient, so I'm assuming this is for someone close to you rather than yourself. The answer is yes, it is. The good news, most things look fine. Electrolytes, sodium, and kidney waste products are normal. Bilirubin, a liver pigment, is fine. Proteins levels are mostly normal. The stuff worth paying attention to are the liver enzymes. So what it's doing is it's taking the information that you've got. I don't know if you've ever had this. I've gone in and X-rays, MRIs, this, that, and the next thing. I've gone, I get no idea what that is. Now, of course, I'm going to go and ask the doctor. But it's a bit like when you turn up to buy a car these days, or you turn up anywhere. I turn up knowing what I want, what I'm thinking about, so I can negotiate and think about it. When I walk into the doctor, I want to have a half a view of what this stuff actually means. Claude will give this to you, but it also says to you up there, go and see the doctor and ask the doctor as well. I'm not a doctor. I guarantee you it's very close to, if not the exact stuff that you're going to hear from the doctor. I just wanted to show you that that's something that you can do. Is that interesting, or do you want me to do some other stuff?
It is actually. I always look at those blood tests and think, what the heck?
Oh, Janice, my wife's a nurse, so she knew.
Yeah.
But I looked at it and went, whatever, so I just sent it up in the Claude.
And did she agree with what?
Yeah, 100%. And it was true. She had a virus that over 6 weeks to begin with was a bit concerning, but you could see the levels coming down. And she was seeing it every week for about 6 weeks. She went to see the doctor. While I'm here just now, let me just do something else. Just quickly, since I'm actually showing something. I'll do a new chat.
There's a risk that people might see this and then start to try and do their own treatment rather than go and see a doctor.
Yeah.
I mean, that applies across the board with any AI generated
Yes.
result. And people are going to take that result and do something unexpected with it.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, you're right. And you saw there, it's saying to you, it's actually telling you what to do. But you're right. Some people would go and do it. I've got a heart condition. I suffer from something called slow atrial fibrillation, and I take a few tablets during the day, like I'm sure a lot of us do. But I've also got type 2 diabetes, and one of the things that I was noticed was some tingling in my feet, neuropathy. So I went on and I asked it a few questions, and it came back and it gave me a bunch of stuff, which I went out and bought. So I'm being honest with you.
Yeah.
I went out and bought it and started to use it, and I could notice some change in my feet. I went, oh, that's good. But my wife said something to me. She said, why don't you go and speak to the doctor as well? Which I did,
Yeah.
of course. But I didn't do it without my wife speaking to. So it just goes to show you that I'm meant to be smart. And the doctor said, that's actually really good, but I'm glad you've done it. But see, a couple of those products there, it's the combination of all the tablets that you're taking. And it's not going to harm you, but that's not the best thing to do. Here's an alternative for that. So it moved the thing forward. So again, if you're giving advice to students or talking to them, always be careful. And of course, things like, scams, etc., and phishing and all the rest of that sort of stuff. You've got to be careful. It's just, you've got to be street smart with some of this stuff and use it. And we'll talk a little bit about that. I was going to do a new chat. This was just an interesting one. I'm into doing my garden and stuff. So if I go into here, this is actually some. I'll just go back and click that again. And I'll just show. So where is it?
I think also, to answer your question about whether people are going to actually take notice of ChatGPT and run with it, but even before ChatGPT, when you Google something or whatever you did, it was up to us to decide whether or not we were going to follow it or not. So I think it's pretty much the same in that sense. You've just got to have a little bit of discretion, and I don't know how you teach someone that, but
You just got to keep on telling them all the time to do it. But your point is 100% on point.
it's spot on, you know.
When I retired, I get into doing grass and doing stuff around my house, and I've got 3 dogs. I didn't mean to have 3 dogs. I've got one, and then I built a house on top of my house for my son, his wife, and 2 kids, which is brilliant, great lifestyle. And they've got 2 dogs, and I've got a dog. 3 dogs get out and pissing in the front of the grass, etc. It's an interesting thing when you get some really beautiful grass. So you can actually take a picture of this now and say, is this grass recoverable? Now it's going to come up with an answer, and the answer's less than, it will actually say it's thinking about grass recovery conditions, grass type composition, etc. And it's going to, yes, it's recoverable, but it needs work. here's my reading what's going on and what to do. And it'll tell you down there what to do. And the thing is, you can put this into ChatGPT, you can put it into Claude, you put it into Perplexity, they're all nothing. You can all do it, you can do it for zero, or you pay for it. You do it for zero, and just see what each of them are saying to you. But this is telling me what to do. What's the problem and what to do about it? Now, I would never have thought about doing something like that previously. And this is actually helping me to get the grass back into. So that's some pretty weird sort of different things. Grass, looking at it from a medicine perspective. There's so many different ways to do it, but I just wanted to, since I was chucking in there doing something, I thought I would, let's show you that. Where's my presentation?
Looks like my grass.
Yeah, oh, it annoys the absolute mince out of me.
I think one thing that we've got to remember is that, and what the schools are trying to do now, is make sure that people know about critical thinking, and it's really something that we've really got to really think about. Every time you look at something, we've got to critically think about it to see whether in fact it is a hallucination with AI, something that's right or wrong. And don't you reckon, Brian?
No, you do.
That's exactly.
I actually asked AI earlier, what's a hallucination? I can't really explain it to you. I should have read it a little bit more, but it tells you why. Because we hallucinate sometimes. We sort of look at somebody else's a question, we think about it, we've got all these things together in our lives, but we can't exactly remember the exact information. And we think we're giving the right piece of advice, but it could be not quite on. Because we're feeding all this information to AI, it can hallucinate as well. It can actually give you the wrong answer. And that's why you have to look at this with a bit of your own mind and go, that sounds great, that sounds interesting. AI and jobs. I wanted to put something up there just to give you a bit of a flavour. That's a bit scary up there about all these jobs going, etc. But it depends which way you look at it. I think a lot of grunt work will go. A lot of people are coming out of university going to become lawyers. What do? They chuck them down and they come in, they're maybe doing some court work, and they say, can you go and get me some precedents? You know, somebody versus something, etc. So somebody's got to go and search files and sort of do that. That's all been done by AI these days. So some of these people it's hard. You're leaving school, you're going to, I was a trainee accountant back in the UK. A lot of that work's going to go because these things are better than mathematics than we are. So it will mean that people will move across to different jobs because there's some things that this can't do. It doesn't have that higher level thinking that we've got today. So, it's just something to basically think about, that some jobs are going to go. And some of the things it said to me, I mean, adaptability is key. I actually think curiosity for your children out there, to be curious and adaptable, is definitely something you want to do. You also want to look at your job and say, are they using AI? And if they're not, you want to go in and sort of try and help them a little bit by sitting and playing with it. And it's not difficult. If I can do it, anybody can do it. In terms of what you're trying, well, there are 3 strategies. Keep developing skills, or not, but the smart ones, the smart kids, definitely keep developing skills. Use that AI as a power tool at work, and invest in human skills that AI can't replicate, like empathy, judgment, genuine relationships, etc. So that's something to do. Is it just
jump in again?
Yeah, of course.
I have concerns about it, particularly in the educational learning space, because I can see what's happened in the past few years. We grew up doing mental arithmetic. You can go into a store and buy something and it's a 10% discount. If it's a younger person on the checkout, they have no clue what that is. They have to put it into the cash register or into their phone, calculator, whatever, to work it out. And when we say it's $1.89 or something, they say, what? How do you know that? Well, because I worked it out. This is replacing thinking to some extent. It's a lot easier just to type in a few words and say, show me what this is. Without really thinking about it, you get an answer. Are we dumbing down our brains by getting dependent on AI?
I guess the calculator is a bit of a simplistic view, but it's the same model, right? And the reason that like my son is useless at maths and stuff and calculate. My wife's the same. Brilliant at tons of other stuff that I'm crap at, but the reason I learned it because I used to sell in an ice cream back in Scotland. I used to drive an ice cream van and sort of sell stuff, and I just calculate stuff really quickly because of that sort of background.
Yeah.
But what I said earlier was knowing maths, knowing the formulas is one thing. The actual calculation, right? I don't do long arithmetic these days or multiplication, etc. I can do it. I can sit down and do it because I was taught it, but I don't do it. So I use a calculator all the time, but I know how to calculate the maths.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't because they haven't learned and they've just done calculations and not really learned it. But whose problem is that? That's their problem. And when they go to work, some people will have a problem with it. They're certainly not going to get some higher class jobs because people are going to notice. The thing is, you've got to understand what it is you're doing. You may not understand all of it, but you've got to understand the big picture. Getting tools to help you to do it is a smart thing to do because it makes you better, more productive, more output, hopefully more money. Certainly it wasn't my job, but I can understand others. But what you're saying is 100% right, but is that the reason to stop it?
I'm not.
No, I'm just giving you something back and going, yeah.
There's no way you can stop it.
Yeah. But some people are trying to. Some of the schools are going, no, there'll be no. It's like no phones, no this, that, and the next thing. Hey, that's a hard thing to do.
I think what you're trying to say is the building blocks are no longer being taught, or people don't have the building blocks to launch further ahead to use AI. But I tell you where it is a little bit different is that because I'm using it every day, all the time, with the prompts, you might agree, Brian, when you prompt AI to do something, you really have to put in the right prompt. You have to really think hard, how am I going to phrase this to get the right outcome? And maybe that will be sort of the building blocks that they will, the newer generation will be learning because of AI, a different learning skill maybe.
When we're training, a lot of the questions we get are simply, quite often I don't know the answer, but I know that I can type into Google, for example,
Yes,
and search, and if I put the right framework in for that search,
yes,
I'm going to get the right answer, and then I can fix and show somebody how to fix something.
Yeah, you know what to go and where to go to and what to sort of do
Yeah.
to get it. And that's a higher level skill. Well, you know how to get to the result, but you might not do all the calculations or all the work in the way through. Some people don't know how to get to the result, but no, you're absolutely right.
What I've found is that when I ask a question of AI, it gives me an answer, but there's an option to delve deeper into what the answer is.
It's like a conversation, and up there in terms of is it Google, etc. It's a bit like the librarian. She'll take you to the right bookshelf, but AI is like, is like the librarian who reads the books for you, gives you a summary. It's actually a conversation you're having with it, and it comes back with something, but then you can go, actually, I'm not quite sure about it. Could you give it in simpler language? I don't know about you, but there's too many buzzwords. And I like something to tell me, what's that? Thinking of like a 5-year-old or a 10-year-old, give it to me in a way that I'm going to understand. Because that's the only way you get things across. So you can have a conversation with it, Brian, as you're saying. It actually interesting. If you look at Google these days, even Safari, and you ask something, it'll come back, and up top it will go. It comes up, look at the AI thing, and says, "Oh, AI, let me think about it." So they've had to change their business model as well, because where the eyes go, it's where the ads go, it's where the money goes, it's where everything happens. And for Google to lose some of that, now obviously they've got Gemini now, but what they're doing is they're bringing Gemini into sort of Google and saying, well, no matter where you go now, if you go to Google now, you can get that. If you stay in Gemini, you can get it. There's even something called Notebook LLM that I noticed that you were using previously. And that's like a note taker. It's more than that, where you can get AI on top of it, and then you can say output to PowerPoint, output to anything you want, within these notes, and it's free. It's free. So it's not, that's the Google thing. Like Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini, you can actually do a search on it and say what are each of them best at. But it'll come up and say it's like different types of coffee, they can do different things. I can tell you within the gardening side of things, when I sent the gardening side of things to ChatGPT, I felt as if I got a better answer than sending it to Claude. That's just one example for me. So, but there's tons of these people up there. That's just some stuff up there what AI can do for you, the different things. I don't know about you guys, but I'm quite hot-headed sometimes. If somebody gets in my grill, during the, when I always led a few people, and I've got this basic fundamental Scottish sort of, I don't know, aggression sometimes. I'm not an aggressive person, but I get annoyed sometimes. Somebody can annoy me. And any time I act on that, it's the worst thing that I can do. Worst thing that I can do. So I've learned to shut my gob. But sometimes in communication, you'll see some incompetence from the electricity or from somebody. And if I write something straight away in an email, it's bad. So in the job that I was in, I had to come across professional. And your brand is a big thing these days in business, your personal brand. And your brand is built up through all your interactions. And somebody would say of me that I'm very authentic and very real. And I took that as a great compliment. But what I had to do then was to sort of sit. I never sent something straight away. If I was angry, I waited overnight. And every now and again I stuffed up, and it was bad. But what I started to do was to use Claude or something and say, give them the facts. 3 times they've done this to me and it's wrong, etc. Can you write something professional for you? And it's 2 or 3 sentences. I'm not talking about whatever. I could cut and paste that, send that straight away to the electricity people and get far better outcomes, etc. Writing communication and stuff up there. I've done a lot of these things, but I was going to get some of you to pull out your laptops or whatever, but let's not do that just now. But I want to give you a view. There's a whole bunch of different things, and for me, learning new things is massive. I actually take stuff from YouTube. I'm a big YouTube fan. I take it, I put it into a repository, and I then go down and look at the script. So it extracts all the voice and puts it into a script for me, and then I tell Claude to summarize it for me, and that's the way I learn and building things, because I can't sit there for an hour, but I'll take the summary and I'll go, okay, well that's a way for me to sort of learn, etc. And one of the things that I did, and I'll show you this now, so the product I use is a product called Notion. I don't know if you guys have heard about it. I use this product called Notion. I've got a vault down here, and you can see down here I was doing some presentation work on AI for retirees, etc., understanding artificial intelligence. But I built a trainer checklist. Now this is something from last week where I thought, what I'm going to do when I sit with this guy Ian this week, and he looks at me and goes, dance monkey dance. Now I know he doesn't say dance monkey dance, I'm just being flippant. But he's looking at me going, teach me some stuff. And I don't know what he wants because I've already fixed these 2 problems. So I built 2 things. So this is a checklist. And if it doesn't come up, it'll always come down. Computer Pal student checklist. Okay. So this is a checklist that I built for Computer Pals. What would you like to learn? Now, the people I've got an iPhone and an iPad. Put your name, trainer, start date, etc. Can I increase it? Can you guys read that? Do you want me to try?
That's better.
That's
Is that
good.
better?
Yeah.
So, getting started with your device. There's a bunch of stuff down there in terms of what it does now. Personalizing your device, keyboard and typing, calls and messages, email, camera and photos, the internet, Siri, your voice assistant, everyday useful apps, shopping and banking, health and well-being, entertainment, downloading and managing apps, Apple ID and cloud, printing, sharing, connecting, styling stuff online, staying safe online, and troubleshooting and getting help. Something a bit comprehensive there. Now, they might not have a problem with all of it, but some of it. So then I thought to myself, okay, Now, I've been using this technology for years, but I've never taught it. So I thought to myself, okay, give me a script. Tell me what are the main things within each of these. Give me a trainer script. So I've now got a trainer script that says getting started with your turning on and off, buttons and switches, the home screen, and this tells me what to do.
Can you make it a bit bigger, please? Thank
Volume control, connecting to what? No, I know a lot of these things.
you. Can I have one?
Yeah, but there's stuff in here that I don't know.
That's very useful.
It probably isn't, but it's good to have something written down.
It's good to have something written down because I don't know about you, but it's a bit like when you're presenting and you're doing something and all of a sudden you've got an audience in front of you, or you're doing something and you go, Christ, I forgot where I put that.
Yeah.
And that puts your mind into a bit of spinning, etc. It's good to have that down in front of you. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. That took me 10 minutes.
So what did you input? You put input, yeah, okay, so.
I've actually taken it off, but what I put in to begin with, and I told, we're going to come up to this quickly, but the more context that you give, the better the outcome. The more detail that you give, the better the outcome. So what I'm just about to say to you, it will just seem obvious to you. I'm a 62-year-old retiree who's just joined Computer Pals, a not-for-profit who provide information for retirees on how to better use technology. I've got 2 people who came to see me last week, and this is what they asked me. I don't know what to talk to them about with regards to the iPhone and the iPad. Can you tell me all the things that you can think of and capabilities that are there, and build it in such a way that you've got a checklist that I can maybe give them?
Oh,
And that's what you got?
wow.
And that's what I got. Now, there was a bit of jiggery pokery because you need tokens, right? And free tokens, you get the bottom line service. I've got something called Pro, it costs me $20 a month.
That's why you.
And I get something a bit better, and therefore I was able to sort of do it. Maybe you're not able to do it unless you're paying. And then it goes from $20 to $200 a month, and then you really get to sort of play. Interestingly, just as an FYI for you, ChatGPT, Claude make no money from even a $200 service. Where they make their money is walking into the big organizations, and the big organizations have an enterprise agreement with them, and they make millions of dollars from that. But what they're doing is they're buying the market right now. They're trying to buy the market, and that's why now I'm never going to pay $200. If I was in business, by the way, I'd pay $200 because I guarantee you this would make me faster, smarter, harder, wider, deeper, all the rest of that. So just as an FYI, but I built that in 10 minutes. It actually shows you it going away and doing it. So in the right hand side, it will show you that it's creating JavaScript, XML, all this stuff that I've heard about. I wouldn't even know what it is or how to do it. It's actually coding and going and doing it.
Did you have to edit any of that once it had given you the...
No, I never gave it any. I never gave it any of this. I never gave it any of this. And back to the previous one with the checklist. All I asked it to do was to go away and come back and say, if I was teaching an older person who knows nothing about technology or the device, tell me what you think. And it came back and gave it all for me. Now, you may be looking at this going, Brian, wow, you're pretty smart. 2 weeks into it, look at what you did. I'm not. That's what AI did for me. Now, I don't know about you, I was a bit gobsmacked and thought, that's pretty professional.
It's very much.
It's a zero, well,
But we all can do that too, don't forget.
that's the
Yeah,
point,
but we
you all
don't
can
all
do it.
But
The
we can't
prompts.
do it because we're not paying $20 a month.
You might be able
We can do it
to.
without paying $20.
But
I
would
do
it-
that all
would
the
it
time.
Do it as good as that
Yes,
though?
it does.
Does
You've seen
Claude?
what I've done on a lot of things, sure.
Yeah, but would that?
And yes, it does. And
So
it does
what
it
do
exactly
you
the
use?
same.
What do you use to
I
get
use
that?
Claude. I use
Claude.
Claude and it's free.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's actually something, there's
And
ChatGPT down here.
it's really great. And you just put in anything. The prompt is exactly what Brian said. You know, just roll through it, roll through the bunches, and it'll come out straight away with exactly what you want. Yeah. And you can itemize it, and you can edit it afterwards after you've done. You know, it's not
Yeah,
set in
what format is
stone.
it in when you get it back?
It actually
Not that
asks you, it will say to you, what do you think? And I go back and say, actually, I'm not too sure about this. And sometimes it doesn't remember anything. So if you give it a chat, and then you go away and come back and give it another chat, it can forget what it did, and you're sitting there looking at it. One of the things it did for me is it gave me this beautiful checklist, and then came out with the notes, and they didn't match. So I had to say, actually, here's the checklist again. I think that's brilliant. Could you make sure that it aligns with that? So sometimes you've got to do a little bit of, but doing that's nothing. Because that's all I've got to do. And it'll say to you, what do you think about it? And all you need to do is talk to it in your language. You don't need to talk technical to it, because if you did, I'd be lost.
So Brian, just back to, if you wanted to share that, what format is it in?
Oh, so here's the nice thing about it. I can put it in whatever format you want. So when I did the presentation, I got it in XML to begin with. And I thought, okay, well, give me a PDF version, so if I want to share it, I can send it in PDF. Give it in a PPTX, so if somebody wants to use Microsoft. Give it to me in XML, so if somebody wants to put it up in a browser. Give it to me in LibreOffice. And it goes away and it creates it for you.
So you can do a PDF?
Yeah, I can do anything. I was just thinking a little bit about what you were saying last. Somebody said something last week at the meeting I attended. They talked about where we would put these presentations. We should have a computer pals Notion. But it's $387 for the business one, plus AI on it. And we should all have access to it, and I should be able to share stuff on there to you that you can go and basically look at it. Because it's not what Brian can do, because I've been here for 1 week and listened to somebody talking about it. If everybody else was going, actually, here's some other things, here's what you can add to that, Brian, we would have comprehensive documents, standard operating procedures that talked about a new person coming on board and here's how to do it, because it's quite bewildering for someone to come on board and sit down and speak to somebody, and all of a sudden I'm a professional. I'm not, I'm just a normal guy. But it makes us look good. And I'm into looking good.
So what should we have? What did you call it? To put all our documents in?
So this is
Because we use
something.
Google
This is something called
Workspace
Notion.
at
And by the way,
moment.
whether you use Copilot in Microsoft, etc., or whether you use Notion, you know, there's tools out there. I'm not a big Microsoft fan. I use Zoom when I'm doing a video conference, but my company forced me into using it when I was there, using Copilot, which is Microsoft's version of AI.
What is Notion?
So this is Notion that's up there just now, and there's so many different. I mean, it's simple, but it's complicated. There's so many things you could do with it. So for instance, I thought to myself, okay, I want to take some notes. Let me create something here. There's notebooks by type, AI, economy, thoughts, and what I do is I put the notes in here. So I talked to you earlier on about Demis here. There he is there. And you can see down here on the right hand side, I can put this back here. Who is he? The good, the bad, the ugly, the bottom line. So I've got a storage now of notes that's got something to do with AI in somewhere where people can go to. I told you earlier on that I'm big into YouTube. So you can see here, there's my opening for my AI talk, exposing that is AI ready to go and take your job? Well, if you open that up, actually you can see it on the right hand side, I'll take it away, but there's a YouTube link. There's Prof G Markets down there, who's the person that basically did it. These are people that I know that develop good stuff. I can go and I can open that file, I go down, and there is basically the transcript, but that's a high level. Down the bottom of it down there is a summary of what he was saying. You see it's only a few things there, and that's me. I read that within a short period of time. I've taken an hour-long video and learned a little bit about it. And what you can do here is you can put it by interest, AI, presenting, whatever it is you want to do, you can create a database. It's a way to create, you had Oracle and all these companies, it's a way to create a database. So to put it into here, we could have some standard operating documents in Notion that a newbie comes on board. Here's how you do it. There's a checklist. Here's the conversation you have
Can
with.
someone go in and edit it?
Of course they can.
Yeah.
And the cost for that?
I just bought this for myself. I'd used it previously in business, but as I started to do this, I thought I need it. It's $387. So it's expensive, but you can do it without AI on it. I would suggest you have AI, because
So $387, you can, is there a not-for-profit option or?
I don't know. I could search that, but all I'm advocating for is there's ways to have a database so that we can all
Which we don't have.
improve in what we do and make ourselves look better to our clients.
And what's the storage?
Depends on what you buy, but it's something like 20 gig, or you can get more, you can buy more storage.
Okay.
I'm not saying this is definitely the right one.
No, it's
But
interesting. though,
even if it
yeah.
was Google and you did it on Google Drive,
Yeah.
and you basically put it in Google Drive and use Google Docs and Excel, that's
That's
free.
what we've been
We've done
doing.
it.
isn't it?
Gmail's good to have something for us, and using the AI to develop some of those standard operating procedures. Look, the reason I'm saying it is in my business, when I was onboarding a new salesperson, to give you an idea of the project that I did when I left, read inside salespeople. What are those? People that sit on the phone and call up people in business and say, hi, have you thought about Autodesk? And that's a hard job,
Yeah.
because most people don't answer their phones. And that was the biggest problem. The biggest problem was the amount of time that they had to spend to do that. Think about if you had an AI system that could go out there. You can buy lists, that's one thing. B, it could look into your databases of all your people in the companies, know that that company was a top 100, go into LinkedIn, pull in all the names for that company, and then give you as much background. Search the web for those people, anything that they've done, and put it in a database and give it to you. Think about if you turned up in the morning and each day you had to make 100 calls, and those 100 calls were sitting down in front of you. Microsoft did that before Autodesk did, and I was working with Autodesk to develop that. And it improved their rate of people picking up the phone by 40%. 40% more people picked up the phone, and they had a more richer conversation with them. And then if you link in a content system to that, the person said, oh yeah, I'm really interested in that. That's great. And you sit there and you send it to them straight away. And you've got recording systems that are recording your conversation. And then you sit with a trainer afterwards and say, well, how could you do that better? That's what I was developing and working with when I left Autodesk. That's all the stuff that you can, I definitely don't want to, I'm not saying I am, but I don't want to come across like a smart arse. These are just some things that I've been doing when I was in business and stuff, and I just wanted to say there's a lot more that we can basically do. I only wanted to present for an hour because we've got lives. If you want me, I can keep on talking, but I'm going to make sure I give all this to you. There was a let's try together, getting the best out of it. This was a bit like, be specific, give it context, ask follow-ups, ask it to redo things. There's no silly questions. Start fresh anytime. Is it safe? You know, you don't give people your bank, all your information, your bank account, your credit card. You don't do any of that stuff. It's stuff that I think that we basically know about. There are scammers out there doing some stuff. Always have a conversation with somebody else, but never give your information out. What AI is good at, will it replace my doctor? There's a whole bunch of stuff in here. And I actually, at the end of this, there's quite a few slides. At the end of this, I put down for the trainers, before your session, here's some things you could do. During the session, what you can do, and after the session, there's other things that you can do. And I wanted to put some numbers in here in the back for you, because the reason I was doing it, putting these numbers up here, is because this ain't going away. It's not going away. It's too much money. It's too much impact on the economy. And therefore, at our age, I don't know about you, but I don't need to know the be all and end all, etc. If there's a few things that it does for me and it helps me, it makes me look smarter or helps me to do things quicker, I'm happy with it. But I really want to know it for my son and for my grandson, my granddaughter, because I want to be relevant to them and having conversations. So that was a broader, wider context, just as I thought I wanted to introduce it to you. I'm sure you're doing some of this, but hopefully I've given you something where you've gone, that's interesting or not, and you want to sort of do it. And if you want to go and try it later on, download Claude. Just go on to download Claude for your Mac. Right? You don't have to pay anything. Download ChatGPT for your Mac. Download it for your phone. I've got it on my phone as well. Don't use a browser on your phone. Download the application on the app. It's easier and it's better for you. Just create an account. It's simple. It's just asking. I use Google as my authority for everything. And it goes and gets my Gmail and comes back and does a passkey where it uses my eyes, etc. It's really simple to put it in your phone.
What was
And-
the one you were saying to put on the phone?
I personally use Claude, but I do have ChatGPT as
And
well.
Claude has an app.
Claude is an app. ChatGPT's got an app. Any questions?
I guess I was hoping that, I mean, the seniors that we look after, they want examples of how it can help in their everyday life.
Yep.
So I guess I'm struggling a little bit. You know, the garden one was a good example. But you know, there's things they do every day, and to actually get them engaged, it would be good to give examples of things they do on a daily basis. I mean, the medical one was good, you know, reading their charts, but
What else do you think that they do that would be
Like
interesting
how to
for?
log on to the bank and stuff like that.
yeah, I think, I guess getting them familiar with AI, but actually using it on a day-to-day basis so that they can engage, and that's where I'm struggling on how you actually get them to do that. You know, what do they do every day that
One of the
AI can help them with?
I put up some examples up there of documents and health information, etc. One of the things that I used it for with my wife was going on holiday. So I told AI that I had 2 weeks, and you can see me sweating here. I'm a Scottish sweater. I sweat in the heat. Do you? Oh mate, you know what this is?
Bam.
It's an
I just sit.
AMD.
Huh?
It's an AMD, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't know what the idea is, but.
It's an AMD device.
Oh, fantastic! I like it. But I'm sitting here. I don't even know where I was going to there, but I'm just sitting here sweating just now with this sort of stuff. But what I was going to say was, I like cold places, and I particularly like the South Island of New Zealand. So I said to give me a 2 week, agenda of places in the South Island of New Zealand. I'm interested in this. I'm interested in photography. I'm interested in architecture. I'm interested in X amount, and it goes away, comes back and says, well, here's an idea of some places. And then you can say something like, can you put that into an agenda for me? I'll be arriving in Christchurch or whatever. I've got 2 weeks. Could you put this into a way that I could drive round? I could get to some of these places. Here's the ones I'm interested in. I don't like that. Could you think of something else? You can put that. All of a sudden, that becomes a document that you can take with you in your phone, etc. That's got an agenda for you. If you're into that sort of stuff, I like to know where I'm going to. So you can sit down with them and actually do that. I can do it for you right now if you want as well. I'm saying that it's really easy to do.
I'm going to download Claude when I get home.
And just sit. It's actually the best way to do it is to think and put yourself in their view and go. If they're writing an email and show them something.
Yeah, well,
if
they struggle with the words, you know, if they've got to write an email or something.
Yeah.
If we can demonstrate, you know, just tell them what you want in that email, and then we can show them how that happens. I think you get a lot more engagement.
It's actually, I think, where if we decided that we're going to go and do some of this stuff and then cut up afterwards and talk about it, and then put it into something.
Yeah.
It's so simple, it's not funny. This takes minutes. It's not something we have to sit and think about this and the next thing. We can get that into a document very shortly and all of us would know, here's some key things. These are things that they're asking about because it's a bit like me coming up with some stuff, showing you my grass, showing you the medical things. You know, it needs to be real to them.
Yeah.
And the way it's real to them is they're asking you some stuff when you have the conversation, take a note of it. And then ask me. Or just go and ask it yourself and go, wow. And then it's something we could maybe discuss as a group when it comes to the trainer sort of conversation and go, how do we develop that into something? Look, if you keep on doing the same things, you get the same result, right? We all know that. There's a few ideas here for us to do some stuff,
Right.
but we've all got to go, okay, we're going to do it, we're going to try it.
I think just the other thing is that we don't have to, when we put in a prompt, we don't have to type it in, because a lot of our students don't like typing. We can just voice it in, you know, you can just mouth. So, you know, it's got a little microphone in there, so you can speak to them, and it will just automatically go with the answers straight away. It's
And
just
you know,
wonderful.
my granddaughter's 9. She doesn't type, she just speaks because because why would you type? And she just asks whatever she wants and just gets it. So the kids are smart, you know, they know what they're doing, but I think just back to your analogy with the calculator, you know, I do a lot of HSC marking, or supervision as Brian does. They use calculators, but they have to demonstrate they know
Yes.
how to get that result. And I think that is what will happen with the other subjects. You might use these tools, you're gonna have to demonstrate you understand
Yes.
and know how they
Yeah.
get there.
I'm a great architecture, big picture thinker. I don't necessarily know how to get to the end result, but I've got a view of what I'm looking for, and then I use tools to basically go and sort of do that. It's another thing to do. My Scottishness, I used to start with, I remember when all these voice activated things come out, or, you know, you call up and it says, put your name through or to do whatever. You know, I remember I used to use taxis a fair bit, and I got on and say, well, where are you going to? I said, I'm going to Hornsby. Did you say Los Angeles? How do you know Los Angeles? That is just an example. It never understood a word I said, so I've got a bit of a stigma when it comes down to the voice, but it's actually the best way to use it.
Yeah.
You touch the thing, off you go, talk to it. 99% it recognises what you're saying, it does it. It's actually so faster.
It's getting better, isn't it?
improved.
Like, you know,
Oh, it is,
I
it is.
know.
But it gets intelligence, the more you use it, it knows, it recognises.
When you get to the thing that I'm doing, you give it there's a file format, not dot, but it's called MD, markup design language. And you create an MD file. By the way, you just write text or you talk. And you tell it a bit about yourself. You tell it your style, how you like to communicate. What sort of projects are you involved with? Like this project for this, I said this is what I'm trying to do. It remembers all that. So it can go and go, oh, this is what he's trying to do, and link it together. So there is ways to do that sort of stuff as well. So yeah, if we all decide in the back end of this to do something about it, I mean, it's
I think
the
it's
president's
great,
successor, you guys can sort of decide what conversations with us. But I'd love to see us doing some of that stuff, and I've shown you some of the value that you can get from it. And I'm not going to take this and say, this is mine, it's not, I'm here, I'm happy to share it with you.
Are you happy to share those,
Of course.
things that you did with the?
Yeah, but what I'd want back is, because that was an AI telling me, and it looks pretty comprehensive, but I guarantee you, there's tons of us that know better
Yeah,
things.
so you want
I-
some feedback on
If you
it.
feed that into it, I'll incorporate it
Yeah.
into it, and all of a sudden we'll have a document that makes us look as if we know what we're doing.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Thanks for allowing me to put this on, by the way, I'm sitting here, I'm ringing now.
Okay, is that
That's
it?
it.
Thank you
That was
very
really good.
much.
Beautiful.
So now what we've done, we've recorded this, so any of the trainers that weren't able to make it will be able to see that on YouTube, our YouTube channel. And I know a few of us aren't aware that we do have a Northern Beaches Computer Powers YouTube channel, but on the bottom of on our website, you'll see a little red YouTube icon, a red with a white arrow. Tap on that and it'll go directly to our YouTube channel. And you'll see some current videos that we've done, and you'll see some really old videos that we've
Oh,
done
some
as
really,
well.
really old.
So, yeah, so
Don't
so
compare them.
have you looked recently yet? Okay,
Yeah,
thank
no,
you.
that was great, thank you.
We're going to have some of us who have got time. If you want to have a coffee, we'll have a chat at the Tram Shed Cafe. So yeah, love to
Yeah, we
talk
can
to you
do that.
there.
I'd like to talk about